Hey again, it's time for ELA today. I'm enjoying learning about these rocks and natural wonders. Today we're going to get into the second story in this week. And so we looked at the weird and wondrous rocks. Today we're going to look at some poetry about wonders of nature. So before we get into our new story, let's look at some of our vocabulary words that we're going to come across in our new story today. The first one is diverse. Diverse. If something is diverse, it's made up of things that are different from each other. The art show displayed diverse styles. So a lot of different styles, a lot of different types of art in the art show. So something is diverse. It's made up of things that are different from each other. Our classroom is diverse. We've got different things. We've got some boys. We've got some girls. We've got some people in our class who have parents who are from Asia. We have people in our class who have parents who are from Mexico. We have people in our class whose parents have always lived in Tennessee. And so we have a diverse class. That makes life wonderful to have lots of diversity around us and learn, be friends with different kinds of people, and get to meet them and know about them. And we love everybody. We love our friends. Even if they're a little bit different from us. Idle. If something is referred to as idle, it's not doing anything. I hope you're not idle. I hope you're doing something. An idle boast is bragging about something that cannot happen. So an idle boast is saying, yeah, you should see me. I could jump on top of the school because I can jump so high. Well, that's an idle boast because that's not going to happen. I couldn't jump on top of the school. Bragging about something that can't happen is called an idle boast. Idle is not doing anything. Saying you are the best in the world probably is an idle boast. Core. You know core from knowing an apple core, right? The core of something is at its center. An apple has a core. This next word here is fathom. If you fathom something, you understand it. Most people cannot fathom the size of the universe. You can't understand how big the universe is because it's so big. So to fathom something means to understand it. Wrath is strong anger. She felt wrath when she saw the trampled plants. Have you ever had wrath? You're just very angry. And then the bottom word here, collision. A collision happens when a moving object crashes into something. A collision of two cars causes damage to both cars. Don't want to be in a collision. All right. So diverse, idle. Diverse means things that are different. Idle means doing nothing, sitting still. Core is the center of something. Fathom means you understand it. Wrath is angry. Collision is running into things. Things running into each other. Turn to page 34 in your reading book. 34 as we read this story called Nature's Wonders. Poetry about our amazing earth. I said 34, my bad. That was the last story. It's page 46, 47 right here. You can see I've got notes on my table, and I was looking at the notes from our last story. So we're on the next story now. It starts on page 47 in your reading book. Today you're going to read along with me, these poems. Tomorrow you're going to read them by yourself. So let's read them together today for the first time. Nature's Wonders, poetry about our amazing earth. Looks cold there, doesn't it? To see the snow. Do you remember what those lights in the sky were called? We've talked about them once before. The aurora borealis, caused by the magnetic field of the earth. You can see them in the far north, like the North Pole. All right, let's read some poems about nature. All right, so let's see how the text is structured here. It looks like to me, as we start reading, we're going to find out more, but it looks like to me, we've got an informational portion about the Great Barrier Reef, and then we've got a poem about the Great Barrier Reef. So isn't that neat how this story is structured? We've got pictures that help us understand it and visualize it. We've got informational text, and we've got poetry. So this story has got all kinds of different types of structures in it. So let's read over here. The Great Barrier Reef is the world's largest system of coral reefs. It lies off the northeast coast of Australia. The reef is a living thing made up of small tube-shaped animals called coral polyps, and their limestone skeletons. The reef is home to the most diverse means a lot of different things. Mix of marine life on Earth. Because of this, it's sometimes called the rainforest of the sea. So there's our information about the Great Barrier Reef. Now let's read this poem about it. The Great Barrier Reef in the Coral Sea off the coast of Queensland, Australia. It's 1,600 miles long along the Queensland coast. The Barrier Reef, whose name is great, and that's no idle boast. It's 1,600 miles long and every inch alive. Perhaps you'd like to have a look. You do not need to dive or even get your swimsuit wet to see this awesome place. The reef's so huge it's visible by astronauts in space. To think you can be orbiting the Earth while looking at a teeming turtle, dolphin, whale, and porpoise habitat. Your eyes will tell the story, and you will not doubt its moral. There's hardly anything on Earth more beautiful than coral. Wow, wasn't that neat to take something that's information and then turn it into something as creative as a poem? I enjoyed that. That was really neat. I like the rhyming scheme. Coast, boast, alive, dive, place, space. So if we look at the little stanzas here, the second and the fourth line of each stanza rhyme, don't they? Second, alive, fourth, dive. 1, 2, 3, 4 is how I'm counting. See this awesome place by astronauts in space. Second and fourth line of each little stanza rhyme. Well, I want to get to the next one, see what else we have. Let's see if we have the same structure. Okay, so we do. So we've got a little paragraph at the top. And this one's about our story from last week, the Mariana Trench. Here we go. The Mariana Trench is the lowest point in the world. It lies beneath the deep waters of the Pacific Ocean. We know this, don't we? The first people to explore the Mariana Trench were Don Walsh and Jacques Piccard. They traveled in a steel capsule made to withstand the crushing pressure tens of thousands of feet below the sea. All right, let's take a look at the poem about the Mariana Trench. Western Pacific Ocean east of the Mariana Islands. In all the oceans, nowhere else so deep, so dark with secrets men won't let it keep. It yields to human eyes in submarines, and then full of itself goes back to sleep. You wouldn't dream that hidden at its core, life would go on as it has done for more than most of time. Those 7 heavy miles of water pressed down upon its floor. To fathom it at last, to put on show all that it holds, laid out in a neat row, may happen sooner than to do that too. May happen sooner than to do that too. The mind of someone whom you think you knew. That one, can I be honest? I had trouble reading. I had trouble feeling the rhythm. You know, poems have rhythm. And usually, like that last one, I can feel the rhythm when I read them. That one was a little struggle for me. I want to try to read this one again. You know, when we're reading and we kind of struggle with it, it's okay to go back and reread. It doesn't mean we failed. It just means we're working at finding what the author of this poem was wanting us to feel in this poem when we read it. I know in every stanza, there's 3 stanzas, and I can see the end words, deep, keep, and sleep of stanza of the line 1, 2, and 4. Deep, keep, sleep, core, more, and floor, show, row, and know. I can see those rhymes, so I was expecting a different rhythm. So I'm going to try to reread this again, see if I can feel the rhythm better. I may not be able to, but it's a neat poem. In all the oceans, nowhere else so deep, so dark with secrets men won't let it keep. It yields to human eyes in submarines, and then, full of itself, goes back to sleep. You wouldn't dream that hidden at its core, life would go on as it has done for more than most of time. Those 7 heavy miles of water pressed down upon its floor. I think what I was struggling with was that these sentences, like those 7 heavy miles of water, they're broken into 2 different lines. I think that's what I was struggling with. To fathom it at last, to put on show all that it holds, laid out in a neat row, may happen sooner than to do that to the mind of someone whom you think you know. Now, I'm having trouble with this one. I don't even understand what this last stanza means. To fathom, to understand it at last, to put on show all that it holds, laid out in a neat row, may happen sooner than to do that to the mind of someone whom you think you know. So I think what it's trying to say here, and you can correct me in the Google Meet if you think I'm wrong, if you think it means something different. What I'm trying to understand is this right here. To take what we've learned about the Mariana Trench and show it off, lay it out in a neat row, it may happen sooner than to do that to the mind of someone whom you think you know. I guess the Mariana Trench is full of mysteries, like because it's so deep and has so many things that we've not seen. But I think this is trying to say that our mind is even deeper, that we wouldn't be able to find all the different things in the depths of someone's mind and lay them out as if we understood someone's mind completely, like we try to understand the Mariana Trench. That's a really deep thought there. It's deep like the Mariana Trench, isn't it? I think that's what X.J. Kennedy is trying to get us to understand in that poem. Okay, here's one about Mount Everest. Let me stop here. I saw the coolest thing the other day. I know this has nothing to do with the story, but there was this guy on Discovery. I keep talking about Discovery Channel. It's one of my favorite shows to watch, but he was German, and he's a very famous mountain man. He hiked to Mount Everest without oxygen. People get up there and they cannot breathe without oxygen, and they die up there. A lot of people die trying to climb Mount Everest. He went to the top without oxygen. Sadly, though, he got so cold his toes froze off. Literally, he got frostbite and part of his nose. So when they were interviewing him, he was kind of scary looking, but he was one tough dude to climb Mount Everest. I wish I could remember his name. Located in the Himalayas in South Asia, Mount Everest is 29,030 feet above sea level, which makes it the highest peak in the world. Everest was formed when the Indian tectonic plate pushed against the Asian plate. Each year, Everest grows a little over 1/8 of an inch. This is due to the fact the Indian plate continues to move against the Asian plate. In the 1920s, British expeditions made multiple attempts to climb to the top of Mount Everest. On May 29th, 1953, Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay were the first recorded people to ever make it to the summit. However, British explorers George Mallory and Andrew Irvine may have reached the summit first. In 1924, they disappeared while attempting to climb. To this day, no one knows whether or not they made it to the summit. So Mount Everest, it's the Himalayan mountains on the border between Tibet and Nepal and Asia. I like how they tell us, but under the title, where it is. Did you notice they're doing that? And look, this is a shape poem. It's kind of in the shape of Mount Everest, isn't it? It's in the shape of a mountain. Eyes travel up to the skies, following the path of the mountain's rise. The wind's wrath whips through our tents as my heart skips and trips. We hush our fears through the night. Rushing gust of wind and snow frighten us in jest as we wait for that warming sight, the morning light, and continue this quest to a point higher than the rest, a height that will be conquered by only the best. The strength of muscle will be put to test to climb to the top of Mount Everest. Cool. I like that poem. That was a good one. I like that I like its shape, and I like how it was written. Did you notice Everest, test, best, rest, quest? All these words rhymed at the end. Jest. I had a lot of rhyming words, and I wasn't expecting till I read it. Mount Everest. I don't think about best and Everest rhyming, but they do, don't they? That's a cool poem. I like that one. Let's move on. This one's called Aurora Borealis. It's those lights in the sky we looked at a minute ago. The shifting, flickering lights of the Aurora Borealis are a wonder to see. The light show of the Aurora Borealis comes from the collision between electrically charged particles from the sun as they enter the Earth's atmosphere. Typically seen near the northern polar region, some of the best places to view the Aurora Borealis in North America are Alaska and the Canadian Yukon. So let's read the poem about the Aurora Borealis. Over the shores of Labrador, A certain rippling purple curtain scatters throughout the night. Wait, the color's now a duller hue of violet turning blue.
Can I come to the office, please?
This arctic veil, a breaching well, could peer behind and still be blind as anyone. The northern sun has bent to drape her gauzy cape across the skies and left my eyes to stare and stare at the glittering air. What? That one was hard for me to understand. I'm going to read it again. Over the shores of Labrador, Labrador must be a city somewhere, a certain rippling purple curtain scatters light through the night. So imagine, use his imagination that this is a purple curtain, like the beginning of a play. Have you ever seen a play and the curtain opens and the play begins? So this purple curtain, so he's comparing, using that figurative language to compare the aurora borealis to a curtain. It's a metaphor because he's not saying it's like a curtain. He's saying it is a curtain. Then he says, wait, the color's now a duller hue of violet turning blue. So it was purple and now it's turning to a bluish color. This arctic veil, a breaching well, could peer behind and still be blind as anyone. What's that mean? This arctic veil, a veil is like a curtain. A breaching well, a whale jumping up out of the water, could look behind it and still be blind as anyone. The northern sun has bent to drape her gauzy cape across the skies. Okay, so northern sun, I think it's talking about this light here. Her gauzy cape, like another metaphor for like the curtain that was calling this, left my eyes to stare and stare at glittering air. So the air, the sky, is glittering with all these different colors. That's an interesting one. I liked it. I didn't like it as well as some of the other poems that we read, but it was good. All right, and that's the last one. So today we looked at this story, and what I need you to do for me today is I'm going to have a spelling practice again for you today, second spelling practice of this week. And then we're going to take a look at some adverbs again today. Today is simple. You're just choosing the adverb that would go in the blank. So I think that'll be pretty simple for you today. It's kind of a review of what we did yesterday again. All right. I'll let you get to work on these. We'll see you tomorrow.